For June 2nd, 2014. What is up, boys and girls? You're checking out an all-new The RCWR Show live, coming at you just a couple of minutes removed from an all-new live WWE Raw. Lot to talk about. How about that ending there for those of you that had watched it? If you unfortunately did not watch tonight's episode of Raw, you're definitely in for a treat. Kick on back, enjoy this recap and review. You know how we do it over here on Monday nights. Unless you're new to us, then hey, I definitely welcome you and thank you for checking us out. Hope you enjoy our recap and review, and if you do, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on all the great content that we do here for you guys on a weekly basis, whether it comes to reviews, breaking news, or great interviews. We cover a little bit of everything here on our channel, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. You can also share this episode by retweeting it, Google Plusing it, Facebooking it, as it's one of the many ways you can spread a good word about our content. Tonight's episode is sponsored in part by our good friends over at Big Sky Wrestling, where there is no limit. Check them out. All things wrestling, great comedy, music, entertainment. They got all the bases covered. BigSkyWrestling.com. You can also follow them on Twitter at Big Sky Wrestling, Facebook at the same name. Hey, I want to get you guys involved. Let me know what you thought about tonight's episode of WWE Raw. You can do so by posting those comments down below or hit us up on Twitter at the RCWR Show or Facebook at Infinity One Productions. And we'll definitely do our best to make you be part of the conversation. So last week you had Count It on the WWE Network. You had a slam dunk fantastic event that came from WWE NXT TakeOver. Then a couple of days later, you follow it up with just a slam dunk, in your face, five-finger licking good pay-per-view from WWE Payback this Sunday. And you know, I was a little bit concerned about tonight's episode of WWE Raw because I couldn't help but kind of say to myself, okay, they had two great solid events that they did last week. Can they honestly keep it going? Can they keep that great momentum going? That was my main question. And, you know, for the most part, it was a little bit, I kind of found myself to feel as though Raw was kind of dragging on at several points. There was some bright spots here and there. Definitely the ending of tonight's episode is what's going to have a lot of us talking for the rest of the week, and no doubt they're going to be rehyping what had came about in that final segment for the rest of this week. I can't wait to check out Triple H's interview with Michael Cole that he normally does with him on Wednesdays, I think it is, on WWE.com. I mean, it's going to be a great discussion leading on up until next week's WWE Raw when we get the answer to our question, which is why? Why? But let's tease you guys that did not watch Raw tonight. You guys are probably like, well, is it because of what you're telling us in the title of the episode, Lee? No. The title of this episode, I'm glad I didn't give too much away because we got some bombs that we got to drop on you guys as far as what had went down tonight. Let's kick it from the top. We'll work our way to that final segment that just had a lot of mouths drop. You know, things had kicked off with Evolution's Dave Batista, Triple H, Randy Orton. They all came out. Triple H, as far as he was concerned, just because Evolution had got their butts handed to them at the Payback pay-per-view, he's not done with the Shield by a long shot. It's just getting started. And the way things were kind of looking right now, kind of seemed as though Triple H was getting ready to make some type of a match go down between Evolution and the Shield, maybe possibly tonight or maybe at the next pay-per-view, which is Money in the Bank, and that's going to be coming up on Sunday, June 29th. Some developments had came about leading up to that pay-per-view too, which we'll touch upon in just a couple of seconds. But Triple H basically saying, hey, it's not over, Shield, until I say it's over. I always win. I always come out on top. I've been at this for a long time. I've been at this for many years. I always get my way at the end. It was pretty much Triple H's whole message. And we actually had saw Batista just yank the microphone away from Triple H, and he told him straight up, hey, you still owe me a shot for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I came back for one thing, and that's to be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I've pretty much done everything you asked me to do. You know, I want what's mine. I was supposed to have a one-on-one shot for that title. That's what I want right now. Batista looking to collect. Triple H had reminded Dave Batista that unfortunately he's just in no position to grant that match because Daniel Bryan is out on injury and there's just no telling what's going on with the championship right now. You would think that Triple H would just leave it at that. But Triple H actually has the audacity to kind of take a little bit of a quick jab to Batista, telling him, you know, even if you were given that opportunity, you would probably choke on it. And Batista looked like he was ready to rip off Triple H's head. And Triple H, quickly realizing that was a mistake, throwing that wisecrack out there to Dave Batista, quickly gathered himself and said, hey, look, you know, we're all just tense right now. We've been tense the past 24 hours. Look, you're going to get everything that's coming to you, Dave, in due time. But first, we got to take care of this business with the Shield. Only then, once this is all squashed, will you get any and everything that's coming to you. I promise you. Well, folks, that just was not good enough for Dave Batista, as he said to Triple H, okay, I understand. I quit. And then we just see him do his little curtsy wave there. And the WWE Universe was just in euphoria. They're cheering and everything as Batista just walks on out. That was pretty much it for Batista. Or Blue-tista, Bootista, you guys with the creative names that you have for my man Dave. And Triple H just yelling at him to come back and everything. At this point, you couldn't help but wonder, okay, well, now you're down to 2 Evolution members. Can this still even work? Or is maybe this is some type of a cheap ploy to maybe lure the Shield into some type of a trap maybe? You couldn't help but wonder that. Now, we would see during a WWE.com/app exclusive Batista being interviewed right when he was making his way out of the arena, just what exactly is going on with him. And as far as Batista is concerned, he's been made promises after promises, all of which has come up very short. He's been handed garbage. He's tired of it, and pretty much he's done. And realistically, as we all know, as we've been talking about this off and on with regards to Batista throughout the weeks, Batista, he's gearing up to do that promotional work for Guardians of the Galaxy. Don't be too surprised, though, if maybe we might see him make some type of a one-shot appearance at the SummerSlam pay-per-view coming up. I believe that's going to be going down in August. And wouldn't it be something if, once again, it came about at the Staples Center? Seems like the past couple of years they've been getting it at the Staples Center, as we noted on our Payback Post show. But contrary to the reports that's out there, people, you're under the impression that Batista is done. He's not going to be coming back. Batista signed a 2-year deal. Unless he tells you otherwise on social media or in interviews that he's done, he's not coming back, that 2-year deal, that's pretty much over and done with. Don't believe everything that you see and hear in the tabloids, all right? But the way it's looking right now, Batista is on leave or hiatus for now. And you know what? We're actually going to go a little bit more in depth about Batista's return to the WWE product and really kind of ask that question, was it really that bad of a return that he made this go round? We're going to dissect it from the moment he came back all the way up to the very last moment, which was tonight. And I think you're going to be very surprised at some of the things that I have to say. We're going to be talking about that on our Tuesday night edition of the RCWR show, which you can catch this Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern over at Blog Talk Radio. So make sure you join us for that. In the meantime, some of the matches that we had on tonight's Raw, we saw RVD and Sheamus pick up a victory over Cesaro and Bad News Barrett. This was pretty much a result of Cesaro leaving B&B just high and dry in the last few seconds of the match as he went with his advocate, Paul Heyman, and Bad News Barrett wondering what the hell was going on right here. Why was he being left alone, as it pretty much had became a handicap match? And the team RVD and Sheamus picking up the victory right there. We saw Damian Sandow come out. Once again, it's another week of Damian Sandow pushing these ridiculous little gimmicks. First, we saw him as Davy Crockett, and then he had the whole Magneto thing going on, and then we saw him dressed up as Lance Stevenson of the Indiana Pacers. And of course, you all that know your basketball, you know the story of this guy. For those of you that might not know, this guy was basically drafted 40th overall in the NBA draft, and he's been doing good for the Pacers. A little bit of hot, a little bit of cold, and his name's been in the headlines recently because it's not really sure if the Pacers are going to be keeping him around for their 2014 to 15 season and all of that. But Damian Sandow, he came out dressed in the Indiana Pacers jersey and all that, basketball in hand, and was just throwing insults at the Indianapolis crowd, talking about how the Miami Heat, LeBron James, they're great. LeBron James is the best player alive in the world today, all that silly crap. And we actually saw Big Show come out, and this had actually shocked the hell out of Damian Sandow, as he wasn't quite sure why the 7'2", 500-pound giant was there, and he pretty much had a little bit of fun with the giant, telling him, "Hey, you think you got game? Come on, let's do this." And Big Show just pretty much giving Damian Sandow a WMD, and I love what's going on with Damian Sandow. I love how creative is trying to find these little spots for him to appear, and he's doing this little slapstick comedy weekly and everything, but it's kind of like this isn't what made me fall in love with Damian Sandow. Now look, I love the fact that Damian Sandow is taking advantage of these little small opportunities that he's getting as far as camera time goes, and he's pretty much making the best out of it. But at the same time, this isn't the Damian Sandow that I fell in love with. What happened to the Damian Sandow that I first saw pop up on the Blue brand, and he was just winning people over with his wrestling, week in and week out? That's the Damian Sandow that kind of made the powers that be in WWE say, "Hey, this guy's doing pretty good over here on the Blue brand. We need to try to bring him over here to Raw and see if we can do something with him." And it kind of goes back to what I've been saying off and on the past few years. It seems like every single time we have a really great wrestler that does well on the Blue brand, and they're exclusive to the Blue brand for several weeks, all of a sudden, powers that be, they scoop them up, they put them on the Raw brand, they pretty much, at several points, have them be exclusive to the Red brand, Raw, and then eventually they kind of have them do a little bit of double duty, but as a result of them getting pulled to Raw, they get lost in the shuffle of such a roster with great depth to it. And I think great examples of that, we don't have to go that far back. We can just look at what's been happening with the current product over the past several years. Alberto Del Rio, definitely a victim of going from the Blue brand to Raw. Ryback, definitely another one. Remember how cool it was to actually cheer for Ryback back when he was doing his thing on SmackDown weekly? And then all of a sudden he just started kind of catching on and everything. I mean, same thing. Argument can be also made for Damian Sandow. Hell, I remember at one point Dolph Ziggler was an exclusive to the Blue brand for a hot minute, and then Raw got a hold of him, and kind of hasn't really been the same since. Jack Swagger is another example. I mean, my God, guys, we can go on and on all night. Now, I will say Cesaro, who was exclusive to the Blue brand, he's kind of been able to make the most out of the situation. You get past that whole yodel-hoo gimmick that he had going on, the Super Cesaro gimmick, the I can talk in 5 different languages gimmick. He still has been able to keep the fans in his favor despite all those different incarnations that he's made over the years. But there really hasn't been that many people that have been truly successful from being exclusive to the Blue brand and just coming out smelling like roses on the red brand. You know what I'm saying? What do you guys think about all that? Do you think that maybe WWE kind of needs to go back to letting certain guys just be exclusive to one show, kind of how they were doing it back in the day almost? At certain points, you knew that with Raw, you saw pretty much the A team. And then on SmackDown, it was nothing but the B team. And every once in a blue moon, you saw somebody from the A team come on over for a special appearance on SmackDown. Do you think that maybe WWE kind of needs to go back to that type of formula? Post your comments below. Let me know what you guys have to say, and we'll follow up on what you have to say later on the show tonight, and also on our Tuesday night radio edition of the RCWR show. Let's see what else. We saw finally the match that we were supposed to get at Payback between Bo Dallas, Kofi Kingston. Bo Dallas 4-0, baby. 4-0 as he defeated Kofi Kingston. No shenanigans going on here in this match. He just was the better man on this night. Is Bo Dallas growing on you yet, folks? I mean, just think about it. Just really, really think about it. This guy, I don't know, man. I kind of like, as far as in-ring ability goes, I love Bo Dallas over his brother Bray Wyatt. But then at the same time, when you think about the promos, Bray's got Bo beat. So, but I think Bo is off to a really great start. I've been having nothing but laughs every single time this guy has been popping up with this whole inspirational, motivational type of character. I love it. It's like, it reminds me of, God, it reminds me like of Richard Simmons meets whatever that guy's name was that did the spinoff from Tim and Eric. Awesome job, great show. You guys that know your Adult Swim comedy stuff, you know what I'm talking about. I can't think of the actor's name, but he had his own show for like 2 seasons where he played like a doctor with glasses, and he was interviewing people and everything, and he just had like this weird quirky personality that was going on. You guys know what I'm talking about if you know your Adult Swim. But he basically, Bo Dallas, he reminds me of like a combination, 2 of those guys. It's just hilarious as I don't know why. Second hour is where it had got interesting. I know if you guys are keeping track at home, we only had 2 matches pretty much for that first hour of Raw. But the second hour is where things had really got interesting, as we saw Stephanie McMahon come out to address what all had came about with the bitch smack that was heard around the world that she had received at the hands of Daniel Bryan's wife, Brie Bella. And on a side note, I love how there was reports going around that apparently Stephanie McMahon had some type of a accident as a result of getting slapped by Brie. And it's so funny because I don't know if maybe people were like retweeting what I had said and it just kind of spread like wildfire, or if maybe somebody was just looking like too hard at her outfit, but somebody had swore that she had an accident in her back area, and on the contrary, it was actually just the way the light had hit her butt. I mean, Stephanie's got some butt, let's be honest, okay? It was just the type of material that was on the back of her dress and everything. But I just thought it was kind of hilarious that we had people that were like looking so hard for that little bit of stuff. I mean, if you guys didn't see the tweet that I put out, I basically said Stephanie got slapped so hard that she had to run because she had to go to the bathroom. She was about to pee herself, basically, But I just think it's kind of funny how people had kind of went with their own little direction with that. But in either case, Stephanie McMahon came out to address Daniel Bryan's championship. Brie, nowhere to be found. She had quit and everything, so I guess it made a little bit of sense for Brie to not be there and possibly be in a bad position where she could get arrested and everything like that. Surprisingly, Daniel Bryan was not there either. Stephanie McMahon basically saying, hey, I'm stripping Daniel Bryan of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. You, the WWE Universe, you all deserve a fighting champion. You need a champion that will definitely be representing this company. And it was so funny because the next thing you know, Stephanie McMahon said, look, I'm going to be doing a tournament at Money in the Bank, where basically we're going to have this vacant WWE World Heavyweight Championship on the line. We're going to crown a new champion. And it's so funny because as soon as you heard all this, then you hear the music of John Cena. It's kind of like, did somebody say, hey, WWE champion? You know, it's kind of like that. And shout out to the person that had tried to give me a tweet and was like, dude, you got to see blah, blah, blah's rant on John Cena. No thanks to even fathom the idea of a 2-3 hour rant on John Cena. I've got better things to do. As I always tell people, if you don't like John Cena, when you see the dude come out, just change the channel. I don't care if you got to watch Desperate Housewives or whatever. Just change the channel, wait about 15 minutes, come on back. But I will say this, the segment that John Cena had with Stephanie McMahon, it was classic. It was damn classic. As Stephanie McMahon, John Cena, they went at it. John Cena's whole thing was, look, Steph, you know, I've had to cough up the WWE Championship when I was injured. You forget, most recently, I had tore my tricep, and you know, I had to leave for a couple of months and everything. I know all too well what it's like to relinquish the championship, and you know, honestly, I think we got to go a little bit more deeper than what's going on right here, what you're putting out there. Let's be for real. You don't like Daniel Bryan. You haven't liked Daniel Bryan since the moment he tried to put himself into the world title picture. You've been sticking it to him ever since, you know. And Stephanie's whole argument was he's not a fighting champion like John Cena. You know, he's a good B-plus type of player, but he's nothing compared to John Cena. Wait for Stephanie McMahon to really try to put over John Cena everything, but in the end, it kind of backfired as John Cena, brilliant with his words, telling Stephanie McMahon, look, I've gone through surgeries. I've had to cough up the title or whatever. Hell, your husband has even gone through his fair share of injuries and surgeries. Stephanie, you've even gone through your share of surgeries. Remember, she had the boob job and all back in the day. And Stephanie, you know, I can't remember what she said after that, but she left herself wide open, as John Cena said. Let's just lock that up in a chest somewhere. We don't need to talk about that. But pretty much John Cena's whole argument to Stephanie McMahon was basically big brother to little brother, if you will. It was basically, hey, Stephanie, lay off Daniel Bryan. Don't do this to him. Let him continue to be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, was his argument. And Stephanie McMahon, she had some choice words for Cena, basically telling him, okay, look, you know what, here's what's going to happen. Right now, you're going to be in a match against Daniel Bryan's opponent at Money in the Bank. If he's able to even show up at that pay-per-view, the Monster Kane. And the way it's looking right now, you know, it was kind of confusing the way they kind of laid it out there, but you kind of got to stay with it. I'm going to clean it up real nice and neat for you. Basically, what they were pitching was, if Sunday, June 29th at Money in the Bank, if Daniel Bryan is able to show up, he's cleared to wrestle, then he'll take on Kane, and it'll be for the title. And also, at the same time, that match is going to be a gimmick match. It's going to be a stretcher match. So a little bit contrary to what we all thought was going to be possibly a buried alive match. I don't know about you. I was actually looking a little bit more forward to that, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be happening now. At least not for now. Anything can change, though. Now, if Daniel Bryan is not able to show up at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view and defend the title, then the championship will be vacant and it'll be up for grabs in a Money in the Bank match. Okay, so just so you know, that's pretty much how it all is looking as of tonight. Now, we had the Kane taking on John Cena match. You know, great booking the way that they had the match end. You know, I love the fact that the match had ended with Kane just giving into that monster side of his, not taking no and enough, you know, while he's ahead and everything. Referee had no choice but to count Kane to 5 as he was doing somewhat of an illegal move on John Cena in the corner. Didn't heed the referee's call. Referee had no choice but to disqualify Kane as Kane continued his assault on John Cena. good booking right here, because you got to kind of kick back and say to yourself, well, if Kane is going to be taking on Daniel Bryan, then you kind of want him to look as strong as possible going into this Money in the Bank pay-per-view, right? Right. But here's where things start to get a little bit weird. Post-match, we see Super Cena. I guess he had some Popeye spinach or whatever. And all of a sudden, he just starts getting back on the offense. He just starts owning Kane. And here's where I had a problem with this, okay? It's like, okay, you're trying to make John Cena look strong, but you kind of hurt Kane in the process when really it shouldn't even came to that point. And I couldn't help but actually yell at my TV, where the hell is Kofi Kingston? Because Kofi Kingston, I mean, he got owned big time by Kane. And we actually had saw him in a match with Bo earlier in the night. So, I couldn't help but kind of say to myself, damn, we couldn't bring Kofi Kingston out a couple of minutes later and kind of continue to take the fight to Kane, and then at least that way you could kind of make the argument that technically it took two guys to beat Kane's ass. I don't know if WWE might have thought that might have been overkill with doing that, but I just thought it was so kind of like, because for me, I'm just thinking about it in the next couple of weeks. You want to have Kane be in that picture where, like, if you want him to be a strong, dominant looking guy that could possibly pose a serious threat to Daniel Bryan's championship, if they are going to do this stretcher match, then why not kind of go back on something that you kind of had start at Payback with Kofi Kingston, and you can kind of let these two guys continue to play their program out on TV, and or whatever. It would have been a nice little spot to see next week on Raw. Kofi Kingston, John Cena backstage somewhere, and John Cena's like, man, thanks for having my back last week, or whatever. And Kofi Kingston's like, yeah, no problem, man. I got some unfinished business with Kane, blah, 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 and they could have just went that way, I just thought it was really kind of just overkill having Super Cena go over Kane like that, just one-on-one, It just, especially considering that the man just came out of a last man standing match, and it's kind of like, oh, that match he had, it was so draining, blah this, blah that. Commentators were hyping up how physical of a match that was and everything, so it's kind of like, okay, so basically whatever he was lacking in stamina, possible injuries and all that all is just like never happened. I don't know. I had a hard time processing that. Maybe it's just me, but in any case, let's continue on. For you guys looking for Paige, no Paige tonight. I repeat, there was no Paige tonight. Seems like Paige is doing like Wrestle on Raw every other week type of deal. At least that's the pattern I'm kind of noticing now. Hopefully that switches up. Midgets, bulls, guys I could care less about wrestling. That was pretty much our next match, as we had saw 3MB and Bald Swoggle lose to Los Matadors and El Torito. Weird booking that they had with this match. I did not understand why, for a majority of the match, Los Matadors, they were doing a serious number on 3MB. I mean, they were pretty much out wrestling them. They were owning them and everything. And for it to just pretty much come down to El Torito just picking up the win for his team. We didn't even see him and Hornswoggle go at it. I keep hearing how they did their thing at Extreme Rules and all that, and I kind of heard a little bit on what had came about from the Payback pay-per-view and everything, but kind of odd that they didn't let those two guys do their thing right then and there. Instead, it was pretty much just very weird booking. That's the best way I can describe it with regards to that. Nikki was put into a handicap match by Stephanie McMahon, who had overheard her in a backstage segment talking to her sister Brie and saying how much she missed her and everything. And this pretty much had set up Stephanie to put Nikki in a handicap match, which she was not able to win against Alicia Fox and Oksana. So Nikki kind of coming up a little bit short. Here was another match right here where I kind of questioned the booking, because post-match
We saw the two girls continue to assault on Nikki, and I couldn't help but kind of say to myself, these are two girls that in recent weeks, a few times now, they've lost to the WWE Divas Champion Paige. I couldn't help but kind of say to myself, where's Paige? Paige isn't gonna. And I know she's got this whole anti diva thing going on and everything, but I'm just looking at it from the perspective of since Paige has come up the main WWE roster, who has been friendly to her or who hasn't tried to ruffle her feathers, and the Bella Twins haven't tried to ruffle her feathers in any type of way. If anything, since Paige has come up the main roster, she's been dealing with nothing but AJ Lee. You know, that was a one-time deal. I'm sure they'll pick things up where they left off whenever AJ does come back. But she's taken on Tamina a few times. She's taken on Oksana a couple of times. She's taken on Alicia Fox a couple of times. I just kind of felt like there was a window of opportunity right here where they could have had Paige intervene. And then you just think about the overall big setup that would have potentially, as maybe Stephanie McMahon would cross paths with the Divas champion and kind of give her a nice little brush off, since it seems like right now WWE is trying to do everything that they can to help elevate Paige and build basically the Divas division or main WWE programming around her. What better way than to have Stephanie McMahon, kind of give her a little bit of a rub off and say, hey, what are you doing? I just want to kind of remind you, you're the Divas champion and all that, and I'm your boss, and I can make your life pretty difficult if you decide you want to stick your nose in my business. Now, I might be jumping ahead just a little bit. Maybe that's something that's going to be coming about in the coming weeks leading up to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. But if I were to kind of give an early projection right now, if I was booking this, I would love to see a Divas tag team match come about between Paige teaming up with Nikki, since pretty much there's nobody else that at this point looks as though they're going to be having her back to take on Alicia Fox and Oksana. I think it would just be golden. What do you guys think? Post your comments down below. Let me know what you think with regards to that. We saw Don't Be a Lemon, Be a Rosebud. Adam Rose pick up a victory over Jack Swagger. I have nothing to say about that match, unfortunately. Put it to you this way, and I'm being very nice with my words tonight because I know we got some Adam Rose fans out there. Put it to you this way. I'm going to be going to the Verizon Center for WWE Raw in about less than 3 weeks. I can't remember the exact date that they're going to be doing. As a matter of fact, yeah, here we go. I got it right here. June 23rd is when Raw is going to be coming to the Verizon Center. And put it to you this way. I pray that Adam Rose, the Bunny, and the groupies don't come out, because if they do, I'm going to use that as an opportunity to go bleed the lizard and go grab me some more beer at the concession stand. That's pretty much how I'm going to be operating with regards to that. We saw the Wyatts, Luke Harper, Eric Rowan pick up a victory, non-title tag team match, by the way, against the Usos. So it looks like finally the upper brass in WWE is finally putting in that stroke, if you will, to eventually have fans see this great tag match between these two stables culminate in a match for the tag titles. I can't wait for it. I'm pumped up for it. You guys that are wondering what was going on with Bray Wyatt was nowhere to be seen tonight. However, we would find out that on this Friday night SmackDown, he is going to be making an appearance. You can't help but wonder what he's going to say with regards to losing to John Cena at that last man standing match. Just what type of mindset is he going to have? Where is Bray Wyatt going to go going forward after this last man standing match? Again, Bray Wyatt will be on Friday night SmackDown this week. That should be pretty solid. While we're giving cheap plugs, by the way, unendorsed at that, it looks like on Tuesday's main event on the WWE Network, which you can catch live, it looks like you'll be seeing a Payback rematch, as you'll be seeing RVD take on Bad News Barrett. I don't know about you guys. I'm definitely pumped up for that match. See, we only got like about a couple of more matches to talk about. I want to take a pause. Welcome you guys for checking us out. You're watching the RCWR show live, coming at you Monday night on June 2nd, 2014. If you're enjoying our recap and review of WWE Raw, go out of your way, post those comments down below. You can also share this a number of ways. You can hit that subscribe button. Love to have you subscribe so you never miss out. Great content we do for you on a weekly basis, whether it's reviews, interviews, breaking news, do a little bit of everything over here. You can Google Plus this, Facebook it, retweet it, one of the many ways. Spread a good word about our content, man. All right, a couple of more things to talk about, and then we'll get to you guys' comments. We saw a qualifying Money in the Bank match between Alberto Del Rio and Dolph Ziggler. You know, I am all fine Dolph Ziggler and Alberto Del Rio colliding. You know, they've shown in the past that when they meet, their matches are freaking good, contrary to how some people may feel, as there was a period there where it kind of seemed as though maybe these guys were locking it up a little bit too much. Honestly, I enjoyed every single time that these guys hooked it up. And, you know, I was really hoping that maybe this was going to be one of those jump starts for Dolph Ziggler and his career and everything. And unfortunately, Dolph Ziggler fans, Dolph Ziggler did not advance to Money in the Bank. Alberto Del Rio had picked up the victory. You know, we're hearing the continuation of news that Alberto Del Rio is supposedly going to be leaving the WWE once his contract has expired, and they're saying that his contract is going to be coming up for renewal shortly. And last we had heard and kind of did our own little investigating, looks as though a new deal has not been worked out just yet. You know, Alberto Del Rio, he's been very frustrated with his position in the company within recent years, and he feels that at this point his name would mean something back in his homeland, and that maybe he should go back down there. You know, even hearing rumblings that maybe he might try to start up his own Mexican promotion and all that. So, I mean, take that with a grain of salt, but just thinking about that frustration that he's been having, I don't know, maybe this is WWE's way of kind of tossing him a little bit of a bone or whatever. Who knows? But honestly, I wish it would have been Dolph Ziggler. You really just can't help but say to yourself, what the hell did Dolph Ziggler do to piss off the upper brass in WWE? I think it kind of goes back to that infamous promo that he had cut exclusively on that WWE app. You know, you can't help but go back to that promo and wonder how much of that was truth and how much of that was just stuff he was just saying just to sound good. How much of it was bogus? You know what I'm saying? That much passion, that much conviction in his voice, but that promo he was cutting, I don't normally like to bet money, but I would definitely bet money in that case that that was nothing but legit coming from him in his heart. And it kind of sucks because I wish we'd see a little bit more of that Dolph Ziggler. You know, here's my whole thing. You know, if WWE doesn't want to push Dolph Ziggler like that, then why not just let him go to the blue brand? Or maybe because they don't even want him getting a push on the blue brand. But then it's kind of like, well, why not let him go to NXT? He would do wonders there in NXT. I mean, Brodus Clay was doing pretty good there past several weeks against Adrian Neville there. But then again, maybe they also don't want Dolph Ziggler anywhere near the NXT championship, let alone have a match for it. So I guess right now Dolph Ziggler is going to continue to be in purgatory until who knows? You know, I don't know, man. That's a weird one. Right back, so they have picked up a victory over Goldust and Sin Cara as Cody Rhodes had begun the process of trying to find Goldust a better tag team partner. And, you know, if this is going to be a running gag for the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping that we see Goldust and Booker T get back together. I would just, I will be marking out big time to see something like that come about. I loved it when Booker T and Goldust were doing their thing. Let's see what happens with that. But I'm kind of getting the impression that this might be some type of a running gag. Who would you like to see Cody Rhodes try to get for Goldust for the next couple of weeks? Let me know. Rusev, odd ceremony right here. There was like 15 minutes of just Alexander Rusev being worshipped, having this big old Russian fiesta ceremony festival and all that. I mean, it literally looked like a scene from Rocky Four, man. I keep referring to it because that's exactly what this crap is reminding me of. And it was like no payoff at the end. 15 minutes just to hear Russian music and see confetti fly and hear all this other Russian stuff. Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you're saying to yourself, okay, is somebody going to crash the party? Is maybe Big E Langston going to pop up? Is maybe, I don't know, Chris Jericho gonna pop up or something like that? Well, what's the whole purpose of this ceremony? This ceremony was nothing more than just killing time, basically, is what I had gathered. I thought it was a wasted spot. It was like 15 minutes of boredom. That's 15 minutes that instead could have actually went to the main event match of the night, which was between Randy Orton and Roman Reigns. And we actually had saw all three members of the Shield come out, and they had took turns talking and everything, basically talking about how the Shield, they basically weren't able to get the job. Correction, Evolution wasn't able to get the job done against the Shield at Payback because they weren't all on the same page. They truly were not united. They weren't brothers, whereas the Shield, they were united. They were brothers in arms and all that. And from there, we had saw Triple H, Randy Orton come out. Triple H had a sledgehammer in his hand. And we actually had saw Seth Rollins leave to go grab a steel chair and everything, and basically get back in the ring with Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and it looks like it's going to be a 3-on-2 handicap match, if you will, or maybe a 3-on-2.5 since Triple H had the sledgehammer and everything. All of a sudden, folks, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. You guys that didn't watch Raw tonight, wait for it. Here you go. We saw Seth Rollins take that steel chair, and he attacked Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns with it. Yes, belligerently. We saw Seth Rollins just go bonkers on Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and we just saw him just continue to assault these guys with the steel chair. Finally, he would go up to Triple H, Randy Orton, had this really nice devilish smirk on his face, handed the steel chair over to Triple H. Randy Orton would get in the ring. He would basically go in for sloppy seconds or whatever and do his little RKO and everything. And pretty much, guys, looked as though Raw went off on a high note as Seth Rollins has betrayed the Shield. Looks like the Shield is officially no more, as Seth Rollins has gone on over to the dark side. And now the million-dollar question, why, Seth Rollins? Why? Just kind of go back to some of the things that has been said about Seth Rollins over the past several months. Seth Rollins, he's the glue of the Shield. He's what holds everything together. That's pretty much how they all were just really setting it up and everything. And I think probably what's going to come about from Raw next week and explaining why Seth Rollins did what he did, Seth Rollins is probably going to go that route and say, you know what, I've been carrying those guys for a long time, and I just got tired of carrying them. And furthermore, honestly, I think it might come down to the almighty dollar. Triple H may have made Seth Rollins a very lucrative deal, and it basically enticed Seth Rollins to say, you know what, it's not so bad being a bad guy after all. Why not work for the Authority? But I think it's a very smart move that they did right there, because if in fact WWE is going to be trying to work towards a match at SummerSlam between Triple H and Roman Reigns, the seeds that they planted here tonight, they did a really good job. But now look at it like this. Now that you have Seth Rollins going over to Evolution, if you will. You might as well say he's now the newest member of Evolution. That's another thing. We've been hearing about this for months now, that it was looking as though Evolution was going to be getting a new member. Unfortunately, and we'll never know this, and now that I'm thinking about it, I can't believe I didn't ask Mason Ryan this question. But to anybody that is going to be able to interview him in the near future, there was rumblings that Mason Ryan was supposed to get the call up to possibly be the newest member of Evolution. You kind of can't help but wonder if maybe that was talked about with Mason, if something was kind of agreed upon verbally, but it just didn't come to fruition, or what. But there was rumblings that he was supposed to be coming up and be in Evolution and everything. There was also rumblings that maybe he was actually going to be the newest member of the Shield. So it's kind of like, which way was it going to go there, But I think it's very nice that they have Seth Rollins in there now, because guess what? Now, if you really wanted to, you can do another Evolution versus Shield match, except this go around it's going to kind of be like Evolution 2.0, because now you eliminate Batista and you got Seth Rollins in there, but then you kind of got to look at the Shield side and Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, and you kind of got to say to yourself, okay, well, are they going to continue on as two guys as the Shield, or are they going to reach out to somebody? I can't think of the guy's name right now, but there was another person that was supposed to be considered for a spot in the Shield, but it seemed like it never happened. I wish I knew the guy's name, but you guys that know your NXT well and everything, I'm sure one of you guys will post a comment down below on who that cat was that was supposed to join them. But definitely this could go in a couple of different directions right here. Don't be too surprised if you might hear announced for Money in the Bank, maybe a handicap match, as it's going to be Shield, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns taking on Evolution 2.0, and Randy Orton, Triple H, and Seth Rollins. But I mean, this definitely changes the landscape of the Shield in a big way, as I'm really kind of getting the impression now that it seems as though powers that be in WWE is now officially trying to work their way into breaking up this Shield, But great way for them to end Raw. Gives you something to talk about leading up to next week's Raw. Good stuff right there. Overall tonight, though, a little bit of rough spots, slow spots in there. I definitely got to give the nod to that final segment that they did. We knew Batista was going to be rolling out eventually. It was kind of nice how they had him do his whole thing, and just think about how they can possibly bring him back. I think, honestly, if WWE really takes their time this go around and really do a Batista return just right, I think the fans will definitely be in his favor the next go around. But then again, we shall wait and see. RVD, Sheamus taking on Cesaro, Bad News Barrett, definitely a good matchup right there. What's another match I could give my hat off to? Usos taking on the Wyatts. That was definitely another good one. Got to give an honorable mention to Ziggler, ADR. That was another good one as well. And folks, that's going to do it. Let's get to you guys' comments, and let's see what you all have to say. For those of you that may be getting ready to depart us, at least for now, if you haven't liked this piece yet, please make sure that you do, and you retweet this, Facebook it, Google Plus it, one of the many ways you can spread the good word about our content. And if you've never subscribed to us before, as it was your first time checking us out here right now, welcome. I'd love to have you subscribe so that you never miss out on all the great content we do for you all. Let's get to you guys' comments right here. I'm going to check Twitter first. I know there's definitely comments coming in on YouTube, but I want to just check Twitter first, because sometimes we get a tweet or two and I miss it after we go off the air. So let me just make sure we got you guys hooked up here. Vegeta on Twitter had this to say: at the RCWR show, so stupid. They should have canned that segment. Like, we're about to see a 10-minute main event if we're lucky. Of course, Vegeta was referring to the Overkill segment that they did with the Rusev celebration. I definitely agree with you on that, Vegeta. And now let's get to you guys' comments here. We'll take it from the top. We'll work our way to the bottom. See what we got here. Ghost Noble. I was high or drunk during this episode of Raw. Then it would seem very interesting. Oh, no, you're saying you wish you were high or drunk for this episode of Raw. Maybe then it would seem very interesting. Totally bored with it. Only great match of the night was Wyatt family versus Usos. Overall, a 4 out of 10. Well, I don't know, Ghost. That's pretty low, man. I don't know. I would have to give it maybe a 5.5 out of 10 or maybe a 6 out of 10. I don't think it was that bad, but it damn sure wasn't that good either. Reggie, I agree with you. Pretty slow Raw, but I did not expect Rollins to turn heel. I thought Ambrose would have the Joker-like heel character, but Seth going heel is best for business. UK, I actually like this. If WWE could book this right, they could have Seth feud with Daniel Bryan in the near future and have Seth beat Daniel for the titles. Something to think about right there. Jamie, Raw was kind of slow and boring in certain areas. You guys got a trend here, and I'm not disputing that. I definitely feel exactly where you guys are coming from. There was actually a couple of times where I almost fell asleep. I mean, it was definitely kind of bored, man. Raw was kind of slow and boring in certain areas, but it was a good show. I wasn't too surprised to see Batista leaving since he has a movie to promote. The opening tag team match was really well done. We now have an answer in terms of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. We are getting a champion regardless of how it comes out. Finally, wow. Talk about an ending. Didn't see Seth Rollins turning on the Shield. I thought it would have been Dean Ambrose to be the one to turn on the Shield, but it will be interesting to see what comes next. See what else we got here. David, what was the deal with that Rusev segment? I mean, other than getting to see Lana, that was a waste of time. He gets some kind of gold star for beating Big E. Speaking of Big E, I mentioned this last night. It's time for the return of the Nation of Domination. Cap Dave, I wonder if Bo Dallas takes a shower before every match. He might. Jalen, do you think WWE is moving out of the PG era? Oh, God. We've already been on for like an hour. I'm not going to even go into that. I can address that on our Tuesday night edition of the RCWR show. You're more than welcome to check that out. And actually, guys, I would really encourage you to check out the RCWR show this Tuesday night because we have a pretty big announcement that we're going to be making. I mean, you guys thought some of the announcements that we had made over the past several weeks was something with our new store where you can get some cool merchandise, the iHeartRadio move and everything, but we got some really big news that I'm very happy to share with you all, and we're going to first break the news on our Tuesday night edition of the RCWR show. We're going to break that news at the top of the hour as soon as we come on the air at 10 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you join us for that. And we'll definitely talk about that whole WWE moving out of the PG era then. I'll read only a couple of more comments. If I don't get to your comments here on this episode live right now, have no fear. I will definitely reply to you, even if I've already replied to you. I usually go out of my way to actually text every single one of you all on YouTube. I send a message to you all as far as what you guys are saying. So just keep cool, my babies. I got you. See what else we got going on right here. Aisha, Raw was good. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Cameron, what a terrible Raw. Usos and Wyatt had a solid match, and the Rollins twist at the end was great. Safe to say I did not see that coming. 3 out of 10. I understand that a lot of people love Dolph Ziggler, but can we please accept the fact that he will never be a main event player in WWE? I think he needs to go to Ring of Honor. I think he would be a perfect fit there and can have excellent matches, but in WWE, stick a fork in him. He's done. Cameron, you're not going to get any arguments from me, man. Honestly, you're not. I think, truthfully, Ring of Honor would be a really great fit for him. You know, as much as I would like to see Dolph Ziggler, part of me wants to see him go to TNA Wrestling. But at the same time, I don't even think. And look, I'm not giving a bitch slap to TNA when I say this, but I don't think TNA would really know what to do with him. I don't. I truly believe that they would just kind of treat him like Ethan Carter the third, or kind of do him the way they've been doing Braun. I don't really think they would truly catapult this guy to the top. You know what I'm saying? I truly believe, like you, Ring of Honor would be a really great fit for him. You know, and that's for real. That's for real. I hope that he does Ring of Honor. If Dolph Ziggler, see, that's the thing. You know, it's easy for us, for some of us to say, you know, they should go to this promotion or they should go to that promotion. You know, first of all, when it's all said and done, that wrestler has to feel it right here and say, you know what, I know I deserve better than this. I know I'm more than what they're giving me. And it's going to be ultimately up to that wrestler to say to themselves, you know what, I've had enough of this. If they aren't going to give me what I want, what I rightfully deserve, then you know what? I'm putting my foot down. I'm going to ask for my release. You know what I'm saying? And from the few people that I've been fortunate enough to talk to that work in WWE, you know, that money, you know, it's fairly good. You know, especially when you're not being utilized for main event superstars. You're just basically on standby and you're in the backstage. Have the guys hoping that they don't get used so they can just basically collect a check for the night and everything. You know, easy money, man. It's easy money, but only time will tell what's going to go down with Dolph Ziggler. I tell you what, I'll make a bold prediction. If we're still talking about Dolph Ziggler in the position that he's in right now, come 2015, I truly believe before the end of 2016, he's going to roll out of WWE. He's going to get that release. I don't see him getting fired. I see him asking for a release. I'm only going to read 3 more comments, then we're going to go on ahead and wrap this up. I want to see if we can read some new comments here. Let's see what we got going on here. Blake is new. Let's go to Blake. Monday Night Raw wasn't that good, but wait a minute, what are you trying to say? Monday Night Raw wasn't that good, but were some... Let's clean that up for you, Blake. Monday Night Raw wasn't that good, but there were some good matches, I believe is what you were trying to say. Dolph Ziggler and Alberto Del Rio was the best match in my opinion. All right, we respect that. Katram 85, Seth Rollins' turn? Yes, 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 yes. And I don't want to. We've already said enough of the whole Raw suck thing. Let's see if we can get something new in there. Joker, really shocked that Seth Rollins turned on the Shield. I really think that this will jumpstart Rollins' career. He would be the man that was known as the man that ended the Shield. History was made tonight. Very interesting. And let's read one more. The big guy. They should have gotten Sheamus, Dolph Ziggler, or Antonio Cesaro to turn heel and join Evolution, not Seth Rollins. Sheamus was another one that was rumored to be possibly be getting into the Evolution stable there. Honestly, I have no problem with Seth Rollins. I think this is very unique because, I mean, if you really kind of think about it, the way that they were building up the Shield within recent months, it was kind of like, for me, I kind of had a hard time really picturing how exactly the Shield was going to get broken up, if that's what WWE wanted to do. I mean, personally, from a marketing standpoint, I would love to have seen the Shield stick around a little bit longer. And hey, you know, I don't mean to be premature and jump ahead, but I mean, the way it's looking right now, Shield is done. It looks as though Seth Rollins is the one that ended the Shield. And honestly, from a marketing standpoint, just thinking about the merchandise that they're able to sell and all that, and how the girls go wild, how everybody goes wild for the Shield when they come out. If you haven't been to a WWE event to see when the Shield comes out and experience it yourself, I mean, what you see on TV doesn't do it justice. Hadn't been to a few Raw events with them on the card. I mean, it's freaking crazy. You can't help but want to go out of your way to try to come from way over your section to this section over here and try to see if you can maybe pat one of them on the back and everything. I mean, they're awesome like that. They connect with all the age demographics, all the genders, you know. So for me, it's a little bit surprising that they went internal and had Seth Rollins be the guy to pretty much put the bookend on the Shield. But at the same time, you know, if you're gonna have the Shield just be no more, I think this was honestly a great way to do that. I really do. I can't wait to see what's gonna come about from Raw though this coming Monday. Let's see, we got one more comment coming in, I think. And nah, that's a silly comment. I'm not going to read that. All right, so guys, thank you all so much for staying up a little extra late with us. I think we did a pretty good job tonight. We got this show in the books. Our next show is going to be for Tuesday night, June 3rd. At 10 p.m. Eastern over at blogtalkradio.com. Do join us for that. We're going to go a little bit more in depth on key things that's happened in wrestling, entertainment headlines since last we were on the air with you all. We also have that huge announcement that we're going to be making pertaining to the future of the RCWR show. You definitely don't want to miss that, man. Some really great breaking news that we're going to be sharing with you all as things over here seems like it just keeps getting better and better for the RCWR show. I'll explain all the details as soon as we come on the air, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern. One more time on Blog Talk Radio. We got episodes available for you all to check out, not only on Blog Talk Radio, but here on YouTube, also on SoundCloud, Spreaker, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. My God, man, we're like everywhere. Do yourself a favor. Type us up, Bing, Google search, the RCWR show. All right? And that's pretty much going to do it until I see and hear from you all next go round. Our next YouTube live show, by the way, will be on Thursday, as we're going to be covering Fallout from TNA Impact Wrestling. We'll be coming on at 11 p.m. here on YouTube. So for you guys that's not going to be able to join us for that Tuesday night radio edition of the RCWR show, Thursday we'll be coming on at 11 p.m. Eastern. That will be Thursday night, June 5th. At 11 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube for Impact Showdown, episode 106, covering Fallout from TNA Impact Wrestling. All right, guys, that's going to do it. So let's go around. Be safe and be kind to one another. Everybody, take care.